Alright, I think this angle's kinda working. If the lighting gets really weird, it's because my work laptop is here and the screen likes to come on and off when it's asleep. The window is there, God knows what is happening with the weather. We are on the back tail of Storm Isha. I'm up in the Highlands, we were relatively unaffected, a few trees in the roads, but beyond that. I do have the big light on just to try and mitigate things, but that's it is. You'll have seen from the title, you'll have seen from the title of today's video that Take two. You'll have seen from the title of today's video that I'm going to give you guys some romance recommendations because why not? Basically, I was looking at the stats from 2023's reading, which I've not really done a stat video for you guys. There's plenty of those around from other people. But oddly enough, my most read genre in 2023 was romance. And that's the first time my most read genre has not been fantasy in a very long time. Now, yes, the majority of them were probably classed as fantasy romances, but still, I read a lot of fantasy. I come to realise that, and then looking back, I finished 3 books so far this year, and all 3 of them are some form of romance. And I'm like, okay, I think I just need to embrace and accept that I am in my romance phase. So today, whilst I'm on my lunch break, I have got a selection of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 books that I'm going to recommend to you. I gave all of these 5 stars. I'm going to caveat with saying for pretty much every single one of them, they are not the most beautifully written books at times. There are going to be plot holes. There are going to be issues with these books. They're potentially going to come across as problematic at times. There's a couple of historical romances in there. But I gave them 5-star purely for enjoyment, and they hit me in the feels. Because that's what we read romance for. We don't read romance for the literary criticism or anything like that. We just read it to just get a book to get us in the warm and fuzzies. And these books ticked all of the boxes. So, in no particular order whatsoever, beyond the order that I instinctually grabbed them off my shelf. So I've not put a huge amount of thought into this beyond, oh yeah, I really enjoyed that one. Oh god, that one too. Oh yes, that one too. That was how my brain process worked here. I've not spent hours going, okay, what about this one? What about this one? I've not ranked them. None of this, because do you know what? No. Romance shouldn't be ranked and it shouldn't be assessed that way. It should just be enjoyed. So that's what we're going to do. So, jumping straight in. The first one we've got is Julia Quinn, the Viscount Who Loved Me, representing all of the Bridgerton books. I picked this one. This is Anthony's book. This is the second one. This is my favourite of the series. I adore this one. The tension between Anthony and Kay is just brilliant. It's beautiful. I hate what they did with the second season of Bridgerton. I know I'm probably in the minority, but I hate what they did with the plotline and what they did with like the sisters and everything. And mild spoiler alert, they get married halfway through the book and then deal with more shit because they actually work on their relationship, and it's brilliant, it's beautiful. I mean, if you enjoy Bridgerton, you're gonna enjoy all of these. It's just great fun. It's just a romp, and I adore them. My next one is also a historical romance. Mostly because my historical romances all live up here in the spare room. The books that live up here are my historical romances and my TBR shelves that are excessive. Everything else lives downstairs in the living room. So yeah, the next one, and this was one of the books that I'd read historical romance before this, and I knew I enjoyed historical romance, but this was the book that really solidified, oh heck yes, oh I'm here for this. And that is A Secret Love by Stephanie Lauren. This is one of the Sinister series. I think it's like book 4 or 5. I can't remember exactly where in the series it pops in, but you can read them like in and out. This was the very first one I read, so you can read them out of order. If, like me, you are one of those girls who prefers to read them in order, that's totally fine. You can start off. The first one is Devil's Bride, also just as good, but this one I absolutely adored. This is basically you have Gabriel and Alethea, and Alethea is basically, she's kind of resigned herself to spinsterhood and just wants to find a good match for her sisters, or at least a sister. But they have found themselves in a position where she's also having to manage all the household accounts and things relatively suddenly. And what she does is she disguises herself as a widow, complete with the veil and everything, and appeals to Gabriel for help and advice. And in return, things get spicy. All consensual. Problematic in that, you know, he doesn't realise who he's sleeping with. But a really big fun read, and just the way, at one point, like, when they have, like, that proper, like, this is the getting together moment, there's at one point he approaches her, because she's got her hair up, like, he knows it's her now, and she's got her hair up in, like, essentially, like, a spinster hairnet thing, and he just comes, like, takes her hair out, and he's like, I never want to see you in this thing again, because you're mine, and, it just got, like, everything, it got, like, 10 out of 10, guys. So good. And if this doesn't get you hooked on, like, a spicy historical romance, then it's not your genre. That's all I'm saying. But moving away from historical and even, like, very spicy books into something a little, I guess, tamer, but still just as recommendable, just as brilliant. Definitely got a more cozy feel. And that is The Flatshare by Beth O'Leary. This was one of the first contemporary romances that I actively picked up. It wasn't that I didn't pick it up thinking it was something else. I went into this knowing it was a contemporary rom-com. And I love it. This is the story of, what is it? It's Leon and Tiffy. Tiffy. They share a flat. There's only one bed. But that's okay because he sleeps in the bed through the day, she sleeps in the bed at night. For months and months, they never see each other. They are proper, like, ships passing in the night. But they communicate and they leave each other, like, post-it notes. She'll bake through the day and, like, leave him supper and things. And the way they, like, I loved getting to know them and getting to know their relationship. Through the post-it notes, they got to communicate and get to know each other before they got to know each other. And it was absolutely wonderful. Like, if you like any Beth O'Leary's, like, this is the one I go back and I reread. I have read all of her work she's published since, and I've given them all 5 stars, but this is the one I always go back to because it is just such a warm, cozy feeling book. The characters are flawed and they feel real and they're just lovely. They're absolutely wonderful, so... Flatshare. Next up is a little something different. And that is a book called A Little Something Different. This one I picked up a few years ago. I think it was the first time I was in New York. I actually got this from the Strand. You can tell it's American because of how floppy it is. But this is such a wonderfully written story in that this is a love story told from, does it tell me how many point of views? I don't think it tells you exactly how many point of views that this story is told from, but it's like a dozen plus. And it basically, the author, is the author? Sandy Hall. She has basically taken what is a very ordinary, kind of boring love story, a story that if told naturally and chronologically from just the POVs of our main characters, we wouldn't be that enthralled by. But basically, she told their love story from the point of view of absolutely everybody else except them. We don't get their POV, or at least not right until the end. We get chapters from, they're both students, so we get chapters from like a mutual teacher. We get chapters from friends. We get chapters from the Chinese delivery guy. A squirrel in the park has a chapter, has a POV. And it is just absolutely wonderful. It is, I'm recommending this one just because it is such a different way of telling a story that, yeah, it's just those warm and fuzzy feelings of like, when you see two people who are just so right for each other getting together, this is what this book evokes. So, and yeah, I read it in an afternoon. It is a really quick, easy read. I don't know anyone. I've never heard anyone talk about this book, so I definitely want to give it some love. Right, next one is, I'm not going to say, hopefully not going to take too much time talking about, because it is one that a lot of people have been talking about and raving about with good reason. But that is The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches by Zangu Mandana. This is about a modern day witch who basically hides the fact that she is a real witch by pretending to be a witch on YouTube. She is then appealed to by a family to basically come and tutor 3 girls that they are now the caretakers of, because they are witches. But witches aren't supposed to congregate together because it's too dangerous, because they might be exposed and their magic amplifies off them, each other. So she goes against like her better judgment, and you see her sort of like falling into the rhythm of this family. You see all the family dynamics, all the relationships building. The relationships she builds with the girls are so wonderful. And naturally, while she's there, there is also our male love interest, who is essentially the librarian for this, like librarian caretaker for this house. And it's very grumpy sunshine here. This is a really good one for anyone who is a fan of TJ Klune, but thinks that maybe he's just a bit too unsubtle with what he's pushing with his themes. Personally, like, this was everything I wanted TJ Klune to be. It was great. Although romance is a huge part of it, there's just so much more to this as well. Family and found family and being true to yourself, and yeah, just being good people is just such a wonderful, cozy book. Like, I know we're past fall, but this is like it's a cold, miserable Sunday. You've got nothing else to do. What to do? I will tell you what to do. Make yourself a cup of tea or a cup of hot chocolate or a coffee or whatever your warm beverage choice of drink is. Put some cozy, relaxing tunes on in the background and read this book, because you will not be disappointed. Next up is a romance I read before I even realised romance books were like a thing. I was in my classics phase and I absolutely adored this one. I have read it a few times since, and that is Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. This is a story of Jane, who goes to become a governess for Rochester's ward, niece, maybe daughter, I can't remember. And yeah, it's the love story between her and Rochester and all the trials that we go through. But more importantly than that, it is a story of Jane being true to herself and strong. And Jane, in my opinion, and I know a lot of people will argue with me, and we're all entitled to our own opinion, so it's fine. This is just my own humble opinion. But for me, Jane is the original strong, kick-ass female protagonist, because she doesn't settle. You know, she's in a really horrible home situation, so she yeets herself out of there and goes to become a governess to make a life for herself. When the situation there becomes, oh heck no, she gets herself out of there. she's then in a position where she's like, well, I mean, I could settle for this. I guess it's all right. But she's like, no, I deserve more than just settling. So she doesn't. And the original kick-ass female protagonist, Jane Eyre. I will not fight anyone who argues with this because we are all entitled to our own opinion, but you'll be very hard-pressed to change my opinion on that. Right. Moving into something a bit more modern, but also still kind of old. I've got one book representing my paranormal romances. So when I was late high school, early uni days, I read a lot, and I mean a lot of paranormal romance, but very little that I would recommend to you nowadays because the paranormal romance that was written in sort of like the 90s and the noughties, a lot of it doesn't hold up. I'm talking things like Anita Blake. I can't stand Anita Blake anymore. I'm talking things like Christine Feehan's Carpathian series. I reread a few years ago Dark Prince, and like that would not get published today. God, I hope that wouldn't get published today. It's terrible. It's awful. He is like the worst. Like, no, there's nothing romantic about that. But one series that I did read and I have continued enjoying to this series is The Parasol Protectorate. The first book is Soulless, and it is by Gil Carriger. So this is a Victorian, Victorian. Sorry, something in this room is rumbling. I think my neighbour possibly has a washing machine on. And I don't know, like something is like clicking, so I apologise if you can hear like random noises. But yeah, this is a Victorian paranormal, very steampunk. There are dirigibles and everything in here. It is wonderful. We follow Alexia Tarabotti, who is soulless. She is preternatural. She does not have a soul. This means that any vampires or werewolves or other supernatural creatures that she comes into contact with, she negates their powers. So there is a scene where a vampire tries to bite her and basically ends up gumming at her neck because where be his fangs? Because the minute they come into contact with her, that's it. The main romance is between her and Lord Macon. Is that his name? Macon? Yep, Macon. Who is a grumpy Scottish werewolf, sorry. The vampires in this are absolutely fabulous though. Like, this is written with such a lovely, like, witty humour. It is really... It's about as cozy as a paranormal romance is going to get. You're going to come across the phrases like, to put the pudding in the puff. It is all told from Alexia's point of view. And it is just honestly such a fun, easy, like, read it in a day and just have a good time. Don't think too deep. It's nothing too terrible. There's 5 books in the first series, which is Parasol Protectorate. Then we've got the Custard Protocol, which is a sequel series. Every book we have almost like a new mystery we need to deal with. So in this one, basically someone ends up dead at a ball. I think it's a vampire, possibly. I say I've read these a few times. It has been a couple of years. I'm definitely due a reread of a few of these. And yeah, basically Alexia is like one of the key witnesses. So she has to sort of work alongside Lord Macon, who they have a very bickering based relationship, and it is just wonderful. I spent a lot of this book just giggling out loud, and it's really hard. Like, see if you're feeling down and you just want something you want to pick me up. This is a pick me up book. This is a pick me up book. It's absolutely wonderful. Next, how many? We're 20 minutes. We can do this. Did I mention I'm on my lunch break? So I can't spend too long doing this. But next up, we're gonna go with Love Theoretically. This is the 3rd novel that Ali Hazelwood has published in her STEM Feminist books series. They're all standalones, but they're all in the same universe. This one follows Elsie, who is basically a professional fake girlfriend. She is a girlfriend to hire. And yeah, she is also going for a job in one of the unis, working in theoretical physics. Problem is, one of the guys doing the hiring, she's fake dating his brother, and he kinda suspects. Elsie's a sort of protagonist who makes her way through life just trying to be what anyone needs her to be. So if you need a best friend, she's there. If you like her, she molds her personality to what works best for everyone else, and she's not really looking out for herself. But it's great because you've got the tension between her and the love interest, who is, what's his name? Jack. We've got Elsie and Jack. Jack is really intrigued by her. You can tell that basically from the word go. He's like, I need to get to the bottom of you. She is a puzzle that he needs to be able to work out. He is, he's smitten from the word go. But he thinks that she's really dating his brother. But at the same time, he's like, there's something off about this. Like, she doesn't know certain facts and things that an actual girlfriend would. So it's really messy there, combined with the fact that he's on the hiring committee for a job she wants. It gets really messy and complicated. But in true Ali Hazelwood style, it does all work out, and it is just wonderful. I personally think this is her best one so far. If you want to know more about it, there's probably hundreds of reviews out there. Just type in Love Theoretically into the search bar and you will find dozens upon dozens upon dozens of reviews. This is not exactly a book anyone's been sleeping on. So yeah. But I adore her. Ali Hazelwood is one of my switch my brain off. I need a guaranteed happy ending. That's my Ali Hazelwood books. The next two, my last two, what do we go with? We'll just go the order they're in. So the next one is Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell. I first read this in 2022, and I read this going, how have I not read this before? Why am I only just reading this? This follows Cather, Cather is a twin, and she is heading off to uni with her twin. The two girls have basically been joined at the hip since birth. They've done everything together. And although Cather's happy for that to just stay as normal, her twin, whose name I honestly can't remember, it's Erin, basically combined their names are Catherine, but slightly, essentially half somewhere. But yeah, Cather, she's quite okay with that, but her twin, she wants a bit of independence, which is totally fine. Cather's an absolute introvert. She is the geekiest of fangirly introverts you will get. Socializing freaks the fuck out of her. She would much rather just sit in her dorm, reading and writing fanfiction. Yeah, if a few select friends had not basically dragged me out of my shell and made me socialise at uni, I would have been Cather. I related so much to her. But thankfully, like myself, she also she basically gets adopted by a couple of extroverts. Which is not a bad thing. Okay, I'm not giving extroverts out their permission to adopt us all, because introverts do not need fixed. We are totally happy being unsociable. But if, every so often you're allowed to drag us out and make us get fresh air. Every so often, that's it. But yeah, her flatmate basically almost kind of reluctantly adopts her, being like, oh my god, you can't look after yourself and now I'm attached to you, god damn it. And yeah, her her roommate's friend, who we initially think is a boyfriend, also starts help to drag Cather out of her soul and kind of get to know her and like really like carefully, quietly like prizing her bit by bit, teasing her out bit by bit, and it's just such a wonderful, it feels very organic, and I love the level of acceptance found within this book. Yeah, it's massive. Like, I know for me it's because I see a lot of myself in the main characters why I enjoy it so much. I have read a couple of Rainbow Rowell's other works, and she just writes she does the most amazing character work. She's definitely there, like, of my top 5 authors where it's character work. I'm almost, you know what, like, thinking of it, there's 3 authors who I adore their character work. It's Robin Hobb, it's Frederick Backman, and it's Rainbow Rowell, because it's perfect. Absolutely adore this. And if you have read this, the fanfiction that she writes in it, you can also read that because it has also been published. I've not yet, but yeah. Also, how pretty is my copy? It's so pretty. This is the 10th anniversary edition. I got it when I was in New York, and it's just... I needed a physical copy anyway, so totally justified. And the last one, which is the second book I actually read this year, so this is my most recent read in this list, at least, and that is From the Cove with Love. This is a ice skating romance. This is about... I'm really bad with names of characters. Jasmine and Ivan. So basically last year Jasmine got dumped by her skating partner, so she's had to sit this season out, and then things have happened, and now Ivan, who is basically he's like a gold medalist, right there top of the game, he also finds himself without a partner. They are training at the same rink, and he sort of like strikes her a deal. He's like, look, I need a partner, you need a partner, it'll only be for a year. How about I help you win a medal? Because although she's won medals, she's never come in first yet. And Jasmine, by the time we meet her, is starting to contemplate life after competitive figure skating. So this is kind of like a Hail Mary call for her. The problem is, her and Ivan don't get along at all. They are constantly sniping at each other. They cannot be within they can't be within like a couple of feet of each other without one of them snarking or saying something. So they have to work through that. So there is a lot of tension, a lot of banter here. I really enjoyed the amount of detail we got, like the level of detail that the author obviously put into researching figure skating. She's either done a lot of research or she is naturally a fan anyway. I am a massive fan of figure skating. So my only problem with this book was that every so often she would change the name of a competition. I know what competition they're going to, but that's not what you've called it in here. Okay, sure, whatever. I can deal. So every so often that would take me out of it. But I will say this is captivating. I was reading this last week. So yeah, there's a lot of recency bias in it. Okay, forgive me. But I basically had to make a point of making sure it was downstairs on the days where I was working from home, because if it was upstairs anywhere near my vicinity, not only was I reading on my lunch break, I'd be like, okay, get a couple of things running, read another page. It's like, oh my god. I had to extend my workday to like 10 hours because of the amount I was not working. Instead, I was reading. Yeah. So good. I will say, however, massive slow burn. Like, this is a slow burn. This is not like the tension is there and the passion is there, but the actual relationship, you gotta wait for it. But it works so well because from where their relationship starts, if you're telling me that by like a quarter of the way through the book they're already together, or at the very least already sleeping together, it wouldn't have made sense. It would have been wrong. It would feel so rushed. And what I loved about this is you see that progression in their relationship, and it feels organic, and it's just wonderful. I also love that this is not a I can fix him book. It's not a he can fix me book. It's a let's show each other. Let's be here for each other and show each other that neither of us actually need fixed. We're totally fine as we are because we accept each other. That's my biggest love about this book. But anyway, I think I've hit the half an hour mark. I'm probably overdue on my lunch break. I think I've got a meeting anytime soon, hopefully. What time is it? I don't know. No, I should be fine. It's at least half an hour away. But yes, anyway, I do need to go back to work. So I'm going to leave you here. If you have any romances that you would want to recommend to me, absolutely leave them down in the comments below, because like I say, I'm very much in my romance phase and my romance era, and I think I'm just going to embrace it. And yeah, in the meantime, I will see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.